Across the desert landscape of Sudan today, hundreds of steep-sided stone tombs rise from the sand. These pyramids outnumber those found in all of Egypt. This civilization flourished at the confluence of the Blue and White Nile, a strategic location that allowed the Kingdom of Kush to control the movement of resources through the African interior. At its head was a lineage of warrior queens known as the Kandakes. They held absolute sovereignty, commanding archers and commissioning the grand architecture of the Middle Nile. While history often focuses on the Egyptian pharaohs, the Kushites represented a distinct and independent superpower that successfully challenged the regional status quo. Meroë's political stability was maintained through a matrilineal succession system, where the right to rule was passed through the female line. The Queen Mother held the ultimate power in this system. Her endorsement was required to legitimize any claimant to the throne, ensuring that royal authority remained tied to the maternal lineage. This structure stood in direct contrast to the patriarchal systems of the Mediterranean and Near East, where female leadership was often treated as a temporary necessity rather than the law. In Kush, female leadership was the foundational law. It provided a level of institutional continuity that secured the empire for centuries. The architects of Meroë developed a style distinct from their northern neighbors, engineering pyramids with much steeper angles and smaller bases. These structures were built as tombs for the Kandakes, whose burial chambers confirm their status as divine entities within their society. Supporting this monumental construction was a massive industrial operation. Meroë became a hub for the mass production of high-grade iron tools and lethal weaponry. This map illustrates the trade networks that linked the empire to the Red Sea, India, and the Mediterranean, where Kushite iron and luxury goods were high-demand exports. The wealth generated by these routes funded the construction of massive temple complexes dedicated to the lion god, Apedemek. This economic strength and industrial capacity provided the resources necessary to field a military capable of facing a global empire. Under Augustus Caesar, Roman legions pushed south into Africa, expanding their territory with a military force widely considered to be unbeatable. Queen Amanirenas directly confronted this aggressive expansion, leading her own forces to meet the Roman incursion at the border. The Nubian archers, famously known as the people of the bow, fired dense volleys of arrows that broke the Roman formations. Faced with this tactical resistance, Caesar's legions were forced to abandon their southern campaign and retreat. As a trophy, the Kushites brought this bronze head of Augustus Caesar to their capital. Amanirenas buried it beneath temple steps, ensuring every person entering would physically step on the emperor's face. This victory ended Roman attempts to conquer the Middle Nile and established a permanent southern limit for the empire. The war concluded with a peace treaty that heavily favored the Kandakes, allowing them to maintain their borders without paying any tribute to Rome. This security allowed for centuries of prosperity, enabling subsequent queens to initiate an era of building that produced the majority of the pyramids today. In 2026, researchers are using modern satellite imaging to scan the desert floor, revealing the geometric outlines of unexcavated ruins still protected by the sand. These UNESCO World Heritage Sites are now the focus of international conservation efforts to mitigate the damage caused by regional instability and a changing climate. The physical evidence being gathered by these teams provides a clearer picture of a civilization that was once overshadowed by the history of its neighbors. The title of Kandake has become a powerful symbol of Sudanese identity, with women in modern social movements often adopting the image of the warrior queen as a sign of resistance. The history of the Middle Nile shows that African female leadership was not a peripheral detail, but the central force that defined the empire's borders and economic growth. The Kandakes would be independent architects of a civilization whose influence is still visible in the monumental ruins of Sudan.